Welcome to the History Desk, where we dig up the most bizarre real stories the world has ever forgotten. Today, we're not talking about tanks or battleships. We're talking about a conflict where one side had machine guns and the other side had feathers and a whole lot of speed. Get ready for the unbelievable true story of a massive military failure, the Great Emu War of 1932. Now, this story unfolds in Western Australia, but the equipment, the military training, and the sheer audacity of the mission have a strong connection to the Western military tradition, including America's own. It was 1932, just 3 years after the Great Depression had hit the world, including Australian farmers. The farmers of the Campion district were suffering, and not just economically. Their wheat crops, planted with hope to survive the depression, were being systematically devoured by an unstoppable force of nature. 20,000 enormous emus. These birds, standing 6 feet tall, were migrating, and they saw the fields as an all-you-can-eat buffet. Desperate, the farmers appealed to the government for military assistance. They asked for machine guns and professional soldiers to deal with the invasion. The Minister of Defence, Sir George Pearce, agreed. Why? It was a clever piece of public relations way to show the government was taking agricultural problems seriously, and even provide some much-needed target practice for the troops. The military unit assigned to this extraordinary task was commanded by Major G.P.W. Meredith, a seasoned military officer. His armament was state-of-the-art for the time, including 2 Lewis Light machine guns, whose design and effectiveness were well known and respected by the U.S. military. This was serious firepower for what was essentially a pest control job. On November 2, 1932, the Emu War began. Major Meredith and his men tracked down about 1,000 emus. The strategy was simple: corner them and use the machine guns to disperse them. But the emus, it turns out, were natural-born military strategists. When the guns opened fire, the birds didn't panic in one direction. Instead, they scattered into multiple small groups, making them impossible targets. In this first skirmish, after firing hundreds of rounds, the soldiers only managed to take down about a dozen birds. It was an embarrassing start. Undeterred, Major Meredith moved his operations south. He heard a large flock was sighted near a local dam. This time, he planned an ambush. The soldiers set up the lowest gun and waited for the emus to come in for a drink. The trap was set, but just as they were about to open fire, the Lewis gun jammed. Before they could fix it, the emus had vanished, leaving the soldiers staring at an empty watering hole. The score so far: emus, 2, Australian Army, 0. The press started catching wind of this bizarre operation, and the headlines were not kind. They mocked the military's inability to defeat a flock of birds. One politician in the Australian Parliament cheekily asked if there would be medals awarded for this war. Public opinion was turning, and the government was starting to look ridiculous. Major Meredith was under immense pressure to deliver a victory. His final major attempt was perhaps the most desperate. Meredith mounted one of the machine guns onto a truck, creating a makeshift mobile fighting vehicle. The plan was to chase the emus down and fire from the moving truck. What could possibly go wrong? Well, everything the ride was so bumpy that the gunner couldn't land a single shot. To make matters worse, one emu got tangled in the truck's steering gear, causing the driver to swerve and crash through a farmer's fence. By this point, the operation was a complete farce. After about a month and nearly 10,000 rounds of ammunition fired, the official count was less than 1,000 emus defeated. The military had been outsmarted, outrun, and utterly humiliated by a group of giant flightless birds. The operation was called off, the troops were recalled, and Major Meredith famously commented that if they had a military division of these birds, they would face any army in the world. The Great Emu War was over, and the emus had won. So, what's the takeaway from this feathered fiasco? It's a hilarious, humbling reminder that sometimes, even with the best technology and training, nature has a way of fighting back in the most unexpected ways. It's a testament to the resilience of wildlife and a legendary chapter in military bloopers. Thanks for joining us at the History Desk for this incredible story. If you enjoyed this dive into the weird side of history, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. We'll see you next time.